So tonight it is all things Dukes. Grab a drink and join us on tonight's tailgate. All right, so thanks for joining us tonight. As always, I am Luke, and I'm still joined here by Michael.
Yep.
Dennis is
It's
still
still
not
out.
here, so we'll just be the two of us. And we have a really special guest tonight. We have Jack from the JMU Sports News podcast. Is that right?
Yes, indeed.
Perfect. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm excited to talk all things JMU football here in
Oh
the
yeah,
month of May and
month of
break it
May.
down.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is
April?
April.
is it?
It's
April.
not May yet.
It's not May
Thank
yet.
you.
Yeah, this
Well, I don't know
episode
why I was in May,
this
but
episode may air in May. Who knows?
Yeah. We'll just push it back a few weeks. So
Beauty of editing. It's time travel.
yes. But the Dukes, obviously. So first and foremost, I want to know, how did you get? What's your fandom story? So did you go to James Madison? Are you just a big fan? What's going on with that?
yeah, so I went to JMU. I got there in 2015, graduated in 2019. And
Okay.
before that, I didn't follow Group of Five at that time, FCS football at
Mhm.
all. It came down to a few different schools within the state of Virginia, one of them being VCU, which had that great Final Four run and March
Mhm.
Madness, all of
Sure.
that. But
Yeah.
something I didn't love about VCU was they didn't have football, and then it came
Mhm.
down to JMU and Virginia Tech. And something about JMU's campus, everyone talks about like it feels like home. What insert whatever
Sure.
cliche there. I was in the marching band my freshman year, so I had to go
Okay.
to every single football game. Kind
Yeah.
of got
Nice.
indoctrinated that way, and from there, really just fell in love with it. Fell in love with the subdivision, and now have just created this media entity thing with a
Yeah.
good friend of mine, Bennett, and the fandom has just hardened as the years have gone on.
That's cool. So real quick, what did you play in the marching band?
Were you a marching band too?
No, my dad was.
Okay, I was a baritone.
Okay. Okay. Very nice. Very
I
nice.
marched baritone. It was a great time.
I
Very
played
nice.
trumpet until like seventh grade.
Yeah, my dad was a trumpet.
They asked me to
marching
leave
band.
after that.
Oh well.
I used to put little pieces of paper rolled up in my trumpet, and then when we'd play, it would shoot out at the teacher.
The ultimate spitball.
Yeah, she didn't like me very much, so
So
she
reason
told
you
me
were
I
asked to
failed if
leave.
I ever went to high school. So, well, awesome. So JMU comes in their first year in the FBS,
Mhm.
and they created a lot of fans. Myself, Dennis, we both, we kind of mentioned it earlier. We both kind of fanboyed over JMU all year.
They did.
I created a little short that was like, "Let them play. If they can get there and they can do it, let them play. It's just not right." You create a lot of fans throughout the year. And one of the questions that I had for you was, obviously a lot of people who didn't know much about the Dukes were very surprised. They see this
Sure.
team come in, they see this team just kind of dominate from get go.
Yeah.
Was that surprising for y'all, or was
Yeah, of
this
course.
okay? So there wasn't like a like, oh, we knew they'd do this.
I mean, we went into it as a group of fans,
Sure.
not expecting JMU to fall flat on their face, right? Like
Right.
we came into it as fans expecting the JMU football team at that time, led by Kurt Signetti, to
Mhm.
be competitive. But there's the scholarship difference. There's
Right.
just the
Mhm.
level of your recruits. There's every single part of it
Mhm.
that makes it very difficult for that FCS school to jump up and be competitive on a week in, week out basis.
Mhm.
JMU had the success against FBS schools. They
Yep.
destroyed Eastern Carolina back in I want to say it was 2017, something along those
Yeah.
lines. Competitive with West Virginia, competitive with NC State in those one-off
Right.
FBS, FCS games where you can get up for it.
Mhm.
But with that being said, we kind of expected them to be competitive, but maybe be a game or two above 500, but
Okay.
be around in every game.
Sure.
And then, the season starts and all of a sudden they start winning. They start winning.
Right.
They're ranked. They're not just winning anymore. They're blowing teams out.
Yep.
Conference play starts. Things start going the same. And then they end up going to Statesboro, Georgia, in that first year in the FBS. And things kind of came off the rails. Quarterback got injured. But
Mhm.
I mean, to go through those first 2 years and hardly ever experience loss was not on my bingo card
Right.
for the
Sure.
jump to the FBS.
Sure.
That's fair.
Well, and you mentioned like your coaching staff. Signetti, great coach, obviously because a big team wanted him to come to his place, and then you ended up getting, was it Bob Chesney? Am I saying that right? From like Holy Cross, I believe.
Yeah, Bob Chesney, good old Bobby boy,
Yeah.
Robert.
So you guys had to replace just about everybody on your coaching staff, right?
Yeah,
How is that looking?
yeah, so like you said, hired Bob Chesney in the
Mhm.
offseason after Kurt Signetti left. When Kurt Signetti left, of course, he takes the entire staff with him.
Mhm.
They all get huge pay raises, go have fun at Indiana.
Right.
Also took the entire roster, but we can talk roster in a little bit.
Yeah.
Uh, Bob Chesney's hired from Holy Cross. He was in the mix to become Syracuse's next head coach.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Then Syracuse went the way hiring, I believe it was a Georgia assistant, but he was always kind of rumored to be, the next in line at Boston College. He came up
Interesting.
through the coaching ranks in that Northeast area.
Mhm.
Assumption College, which is a Division II college, found his way to Holy Cross at the FCS level, turned him into a, I believe, Patriot League, just star type of
Mhm.
team, winning it year in and year out, developing quarterbacks. I'm doing a really good job of that up there in Worcester, Massachusetts. So that was kind of his calling card. Somehow JMU kind of lures him away. It comes out that he started his coaching career at Johns Hopkins
Mhm.
and kind of has
Okay.
family around that I-81 corridor. So he wasn't I'm gonna try 2 negatives here to try and make it positive.
Okay.
He wasn't not familiar with the area, so,
Right.
he
Okay.
comes down, he brings his offensive coordinator, Dean Kennedy,
Okay.
who's this is just gonna be Dean Kennedy's 2nd year as an offensive coordinator. He's
Mhm.
a young guy, he might be around my age, I'm 27. I think he's around that age because he just finished up being a GA, was a quarterbacks coach for a year, then an offensive coordinator for a year. Now it's gonna be his 2nd year. He gets Lyle Hemphill, who was around the
Mhm.
ACC, kind
Mm.
of Power Five guy, as his defensive coordinator, and then brought a few other pieces from his staff. But they filled out the staff quickly and very nicely.
Nice. So Chesney also brought a bunch of his coaches along with him. So
Yeah,
pretty easy transition there. That's good.
yeah.
So we'll go right into it. Players. When Signetti left, he just kind of like picked and he just kind of, I'm going to take you, I'm going to bring you. What's going on there? Like who all did he take? Were they,
Yeah, it's I have a roughly written down. Let's see if I can
okay.
kind of go through it because it was a lot. And not only that, someone he didn't take, Jordan McLeod, who went to
Mhm.
Texas State, was our all
Mhm.
conference offensive player of the
Yeah.
year quarterback. He just entered the portal when Signetti left. So they lost the quarterback. Running backs Kalon Black and Tyson Lawton went to Indiana. And then
Mm.
our running back 3 graduated. Wide receiver Elijah Surratt, which was one of the top group of 5 wide
Yep.
receivers. He went to Indiana, and Zach Horton, the starting tight end, went to Indiana,
Okay.
along with, I believe, 2 offensive linemen.
Mhm.
So ravaged the offensive side. The
Yep.
defensive side, almost worse. You lose Aiden Fisher, a star sophomore linebacker, with Jalen Walker,
Oh,
all
yes.
conference caliber type of player, could have been defensive player of the year
Yep.
in the Sun Belt. He goes to Indiana. You lose almost all of your safeties to graduation. And Mikel Kamara went to Indiana with him, along with James Carpenter, a kind of nose tackle, D
Mhm.
tackle type of guy. He went to Indiana with him. And then Jamry Chroma and Jalen Green. Jalen Green led the country in sacks a year
Yeah.
ago.
Mm.
They both graduated and will try their hand at the NFL. So, uh, lost about 90% of production from a year
Woo.
ago.
Golly.
That's rough.
That's rough. That's
That's
really rough.
Life of a G5, life of a
Right.
G5.
true.
You rationalize it in your head every single year. But yeah, he left, took a lot of coaches, and then took a lot of players.
Which I mean, I guess makes sense. You're going to bring the guys with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for the Dukes, it's kind of this like leave something,
Sure.
leave us something. So, but I
Yeah.
think did Chesney bring anybody over with him?
Um, not as many. So there
Okay.
was one guy already in the transfer portal that came with him named Jacob Dobbs.
Okay.
A lot of the transfers from Holy Cross exhausted their eligibility, kind of like how
Mhm.
Ivy League, you can only play 4 years in Ivy
Right.
League and they kick you out.
Yeah.
Holy Cross, you need to have your major. So if you don't have any classes to take, you can't play there anymore.
Oh
Kind of like
gosh.
a
Mm.
duh thing, but some Power Fives might shade the rules and create some new things for you.
Right.
Um, at the FCS level, that when you're done, you're done. So Jacob Dobbs, a linebacker, comes with him. Tyler Purdy, a running back, comes with him, and Terrence Spence, a safety, comes with him.
Okay.
Okay.
Are they filling in those roles with other transfers, or do you have guys kind of waiting in the wing to step up in?
Yeah, so kind of a mixture of both.
Okay.
Jacob Dobbs is going to be a impact linebacker. He's filling the gap, like I said. Aiden Fisher gone, Jalen Walker gone.
Hmm.
Then Taurus Jones was another linebacker who entered the portal.
Okay.
Chesney was hired. He decided to come back. So they
Nice.
bring back Taurus Jones. They bring back another linebacker, Trent Hendrick. But overall, quarterback, you bring in a transfer. Running back brought in two transfers. Wide receiver
Okay.
brought in two transfers to go along with four or five young guys that have been kind of waiting off in the wings.
Nice.
Defensively, defensive line, for the most part, you brought in a little transfer here and there, but nothing crazy. And then, thank goodness, I don't know how they did this. This might be the coup of the Sun Belt offseason. They maintained their cornerback 1 and 2,
Oh
both
wow.
of them kind of, one's a sophomore, one was a, or I guess rising junior now, rising
Hmm.
sophomore now. Both of them were kind of all conference, all rookie team players in the Sun Belt.
Got
Well,
it.
that's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Keeping some of that. I mean, that secondary, you're losing your safeties and all those
Yeah.
linemen. That's going to be difficult. But if you
Yeah,
can
it's
keep
going to be
those
something.
corners, yeah, keeping those corners. That's
I mean,
it's a
that's kind of the power. That's the power defense side right now. Like if
mhm,
you want good corners and things like that, you know to be able to rush. So it's just it makes a ton of sense to be able to keep
Yeah.
them if you can, because they make the world of difference if you can put the kind of pressure on the quarterback.
mhm.
What other like what who would be your big like the player that you think is going to shine this upcoming year?
That's a great question. I'll kind of go a couple of different ways.
Yeah.
Offensively, I'll go with two guys, um, maybe three here because I want to show a little love to a returner, but one of them for sure is going to be Dylan Morris, a
Okay.
Washington transfer. He
Oh,
was a
okay.
starter for Washington during the COVID year and then
Yeah.
2021 during that Jimmy Lake dark days of
Yeah.
the Huskies.
Fair enough.
Um, Penix then, of course,
Yeah.
transfers and he gets pushed to QB2 real
Yeah.
quick
Yeah.
and he decides to use his final year of eligibility going from Washington to JMU. So that was a
Okay.
big time pickup. Um, so he should shine. He should fill a role
Yeah.
really well with Chesney and Dean Kennedy and help take this offense to another level. Offensively, you can also keep an eye on a North Texas transfer, Io
Okay.
Adei. Uh,
Yeah.
Yep. Heard that
had
name.
over 1,000 yards at North Texas with the Mean
Hmm.
Green.
Yep.
He should be a big time player for the Dukes. And I'm really big on this kid, Omarion Dollison. He's a
Okay.
Yep.
wide receiver. I think they clocked him at 22 miles an hour, just an
Wow.
absolute
That's fast.
speedster.
Yeah.
Didn't get the ball a lot because he was like wide receiver 6 a year ago.
Okay.
I'm all in on this guy. You
Yeah.
say speed, I'm like Al Davis drafting Darius Hayward Bay. Give me all the speed. I think he's going to be really good. Defensively, Eric O'Neill, a
Okay.
Long Island University LIU transfer coming from the FCS ranks. He should be a big time player on the D end. And then Chauncey Logan and D'Angelo Ponce, the two corners that return, should help make the defense run a little smoothly.
Nice.
Nice. And so who was the returner?
The returner was
Oh,
Dollison.
Dallison. Okay.
This will be
Okay.
technically not a true JMU product because he transferred in from UCF at the
Okay.
start of last year, but this will be his second year with JMU.
Okay. Yeah. 22 miles an hour is, I don't even know if my car gets up to 22 miles an hour sometimes.
Nope. I
It
mean,
it does, but
every once
you
in a
know what I'm
while it
saying.
doesn't.
Uh,
So, yeah, no, that's pretty impressive. But what other big news is coming out of JMU for this offseason, especially? Like, I mean, obviously there was the big news of the coaching staff and all that
mhm.
stuff, but what other things that you guys are hearing about? Are you guys is the fan base super pumped about this upcoming season? Like, what does it feel like? What's the pulse there?
Yeah, the Pulse is pure excitement. I mean,
Cool.
Awesome.
whatever Kool-Aid, not to go to the Jonestown reference right away, but whatever Kool-Aid that he is pouring out, people are drinking all the way up because I don't know what it is about him. He's pure energy, pure
Mhm.
happiness. I've never seen a football coach like him. The clips are coming out and they're like, Chesney House practicing. He goes, every day is a great day because every day is a chance to get better. Every day is a chance for
Yeah.
our guys to, play the game that they love and allows the coaching. And it's just like, oh, bro, I'm going to need you to, when we lose our third game this season and you come into the press conference too happy, as a fan, I'm gonna be real upset.
Right.
But
Yeah.
as of right now, he's really injected a lot of um, hope, positivity, excitement, and it's a huge difference from what Kurt Signetti was. Kurt
Mhm.
Signetti is a very great football coach.
Yep.
I loved him as a person, but he's a very, very I don't know
Business,
what the word
like he's like,
cold.
yeah.
He's he that wa so, an example of what Kurt Cignetti's like, they started a redshirt freshman last year against Bucknell, and the redshirt freshman got benched at halftime because of his play was so bad, and, Cignetti was asked about it after the game, and his quote was something along the lines of, "You saw the game, he was bad."
I
And
can
then someone
respect
asked him in
that.
the post-game press conference, and he
Uh.
was like, when a golfer forgets how to swing, that's what happened to him."
I mean, I can respect it.
Uh, that sounds like a guy I would get along with very well.
It
Like
it
straight shooter,
but
but like you said, that happiness, it's like that's
yep,
really good at the beginning of the season and that's really good at the end of the season.
Yep.
But during the season, you got to change it up a little bit. Like you can't be happy all the time.
If they rattle off 6 straight wins to start the year off
sure.
somehow,
Mhm.
because this schedule opens up kind of on the more difficult side, in my opinion. If they can open up with 6 straight wins,
Mhm.
he can be as happy as he wants.
Sure.
But if you drop a game or 2 there, uh-oh, I'm gonna need some anger.
Right.
It's fair.
Well, let's go into the schedule. Now that you brought it up, like what are you as you look through that schedule and you know your team and you see the losses and the guys that have come in and the coaching changes, what are your thoughts on the projections for next year? What's going to happen?
So start the year off against Charlotte
Mhm.
at
Mhm.
Charlotte. Now, Jerry Richardson Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina, not the most daunting of places, but
True.
maybe it's because I live in Charlotte and I hear all of the stuff coming out of the Biff Poggi, you know, media camp.
Mhm.
Sure.
I think the 49ers are I think that's gonna be a tough game. And
Okay.
I think a
Fair enough.
lot of
Yeah.
JMU fans are looking over the 49ers at this
Mhm.
point in the offseason. That's gonna be tough. Then you go to FCS, you host the running Bulldogs of Gardner Webb,
Mhm.
UNC, Chapel Hill, at Chapel Hill. That's another
That's
tough
gonna be a
one.
tough one. Yeah.
Then you're back at home against Ball State.
Yep.
Mm.
The kids from Muncie, Indiana aren't gonna do much, if
Mm.
I'm being brutally honest. And then you start conference play. So you start rotating away, home, away, home. I think 2 and 2 is a real possibility in that where you
Mhm.
drop both of your away games. And then you dive into the thick of conference play.
Yep.
ULM should be an easy dub. Coastal
Mhm.
Carolina, who knows what they're
Yeah.
gonna do post
Right.
Grayson
Yeah.
McCall. So I don't really know. That's home. JMU's outscored them like 100-20 their last 2 games they've played against them.
Fair enough.
It's also a Thursday game. It's weird, but
Weird.
you circle that last 3 weeks of the season where
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
at ODU, at App State, home against Marshall.
Yeah.
Tough, tougher, tougher.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And just the way that all breaks. It's gonna make for some really fun Saturdays in the fall, but it's
100%.
also gonna make up for some potential heartbreaks.
It's true.
Yeah, I mean App State, we kind of call them the
They're
like
they're, they're the spoiler
they're the
team,
spoiler team. They just have that way of
ruining someone's
yeah.
season
As
So
sweet as JMU fans know
mhm.
all too
very
well.
well.
Yes.
All too well.
And now I know I'm, not a true JMU fan, but I just love when they ruin
We'll adopt you.
Michigan's season.
Come on into the
Oh
fandom.
yeah, no, I'll take it. So there's only been two teams that I've like watched once and been like, oh, I love them, and it's been the Dukes, and then I watched Boise State that year that they ended
Yeah.
up beating Oklahoma. Those are the two teams I was like, I don't know why, I just like these
It's
guys.
fun. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'll gladly take a what do they call them? A fandom, a second fandom from you.
Please
But
do. Fandom pass, whatever it may
yeah,
be.
whatever it may be. But yeah, that App State's going to be difficult. I mean, the Marshalls never a pushover, and Old Dominion. I mean, it's going to be
I
tough. But so what are you thinking? Are you thinking 3 losses? Are you thinking miracles happen and you go undefeated again?
I honestly think that opening 4-game stretch, in all likelihood, they will drop
Mhm.
one of those games,
Okay.
most likely at UNC.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Um, I think you open up conference play on a heater, kind of making
Sure.
yourself feel
Yep.
invincible. And I don't think a 1-2 finish to the year is out of the question.
Gotcha.
So a potential 3 loss. Now, with all that being said, if you're a 1-loss team going into those final 2 weekends at App State versus
Sure.
Marshall, you're in the driver's seat to be
Right.
the representative in the college football playoff.
Mhm.
Sure.
So huge implications as this season goes on because there's a strong likelihood come November 17th after that ODU game,
Mhm.
JMU sitting there with 1 loss. Also very likely they could then lose the last 2 games of the
Right.
season,
Also
everything
true.
falls apart, but
Yep.
we could be sitting here on November 17th talking about how the Dukes are gonna be the group of 5 rep.
Yeah. Yeah, I like you said, you get to those final 2 games, and if you're 1 loss, that's one of those, like, let's see what your coach has. Let's see what he's got. Can he rile these guys up and get at least one of these next 2 victories?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
because they're both, I mean, I think they're both doable. They're both winnable games.
Mhm.
They just gotta do it.
they gotta do it, and I mean, honestly, that Chapel Hill game too is also
Mhm.
winnable at the beginning of the season. Chapel Hill's a little sorry, UNC. I
Mhm.
get into
No, no,
the
you're
left.
good.
Yeah.
We knew what you were talking about,
Yeah,
or
we
I
knew
did.
it.
I won't speak for
No, I know
Michael, but
some people get really offended when I call UNC just Chapel Hill, but,
right.
I mean, they've lost, like, everything.
Mhm.
Granted, they're always loaded with 4 and 5 stars, and they always have, like, the talent there, but do we trust
Yeah.
them to coach it
Mm.
up at the beginning of the season? App State gives them issues every single year. Maybe
Yep.
JMU can do the same.
Oh,
Sure.
yeah, and I always the first 3 games this season to me are always like, you just can't write anything off. You've not really you've practiced, you're not really playing against a different team, you're usually
Mhm.
taking it pretty easy, and then you get into the games and it's like, are you
True.
gonna come out and play, or are you gonna come out and just have that practice mindset? So
Yeah.
it's definitely interesting. I'm rooting for him, 100%.
Oh, I know you are.
I need yeah.
uh,
Um,
honestly, so we one of the things we try to do is we want to try to, like, any of the guests that we have on, we want to try to get them back during the season. I feel like you might be one that we get on, like, at the end of the season, like, just so that you
mhm.
guys can either have a celebration party
Right.
or you guys can both grieve together.
Right.
Yeah, there's just so many different outcomes for this team this year. I
Sure.
mean, so many transfers, and then the
Yep.
returners are just unheralded guys.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So the
Yep.
potential
Yeah.
Yeah.
is sky high. Now, do you live up to the potential? This is college
Sure.
football, and we see it every year that the teams that are should be good aren't good. The teams that
Yep.
aren't supposed to be good aren't good. So they very well could come out and have the best 3 wide receivers in all of group of 5, and Dylan
Yep.
Morris can be slinging it around the field. Or we can see the Dylan Morris that we saw in 2021 in his final year under Jimmy Lake when he had a 1-to-1 touchdown to interception
Yeah.
ratio. So,
Yeah, and that's I mean, that's what's fun about, years like this when
Mhm.
you have expectations, but you also kinda have that I I don't know how to say it, like, without sounding horrible, but, like, you can fall back on the, "We lost everything." You know what I
Sure.
mean? Like, you have both sides of the
yeah,
story and you expect good, but if bad happens, like, you're not surprised because, like, you
Yeah.
weren't set up well. This was not a good year to be set up as a Dukes fan. I mean, it's set up for failure almost, but
yeah.
I don't see it happening.
And the plus side of that is
Mhm.
if they do fall on their face, we get Bob Chesney for another year.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a strong possibility that if we have a great year,
Yeah.
he's gone after 1
Yeah.
year. So,
Yeah.
Somebody's picking him up and he's taking the roster again.
yeah, so, if they come out and kind of have a 4 or 5 loss type of year, well, that's fine. We can keep Bob Chesney and he can
Sure.
kind of build something. Maybe that takes some of the shine off of him and
Right.
he can stick around a little longer because right now, he's one of the shiniest young coaches in college
Right.
football.
Well, and then after a couple weeks after the season, his happiness will just rub off on everybody again and you'll be
Yeah,
in a
those
good
exit
mood.
interviews, I'm ready for next season. Let's do it. Let's start it right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, great. Well, we appreciate you having us on. We appreciate you coming on with
Thank you so
us.
much.
Yeah, and and so we're looking forward to the season. We're looking forward to keeping up with you and seeing how Dukes do this year.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yep. So before we go, give a shout out. Just make sure everybody knows your Twitter, your YouTube, like
Where they
everything
can
that you've
find you.
got. Where can you find you? That's
Yeah, you can find us everywhere. JMUSportsNews.com is our home on the web. And then you can follow us across all socials at JMU Sports News. And that's where everything lives. And you can follow myself at FITZ all the way, fits all the way.
Nice.
awesome.
Awesome.
Well, thanks for coming on. We're excited to see what happens this year.
Yep.
Thank y'all.
Thanks, man.